Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session, hosted by Reservations and ZeroLight. I'm just going to allow a couple of seconds for all of you to start kind of filtering into the session. Yeah, we're scheduled for a great session today. Today's session is how Lucid Motors converts customers with unforgettable D2C experiences. You will have the option and the opportunity to ask questions of our panel and our moderator throughout. Please just submit your questions through the chat function, which is at the bottom of your screen now. We'll endeavour to get through as many questions as we can during the session, but if there are any that are unanswered, we will send those across to the speaker that it's meant to be, and we can try and get as many questions answered after the session as possible. I will hand over now to our host, Ralph. Yeah, I'll let you take it from there, Ralph.
Perfect, Paul. Thank you very much, and welcome, a warm welcome from my side to everybody. We have a highly interesting topic to discuss today and share some experiences around Lucid Motors and how Lucid, together with ZeroLight, was able to convert customer with an unforgettable D2C experience. I think this is one of the major topics driving automotive industry. As we all know, auto industry is undergoing a major transformation, and it's not just technology that is in the center, it's also sales and marketing. And what we experience in other areas of our life is as retail is, let's say, the future of automotive sales and marketing. It's moving towards digital, and I think this is exactly in the center of today's discussion. We have spent a lot of time, effort to understand what is the status and what can be future elements of such a newly defined digital customer journey, and we would like to show today and share today some insights that can demonstrate how it can work properly and how this can work very well in terms of not just being a different technology, but adding value to this entire, let's say, interaction with customer, and be a more convincing solutions than what we have experienced in the past. So if we can move forward, exactly, we have done some research, and by the way, I can introduce myself in 2-3 words. I'm a senior partner in Bain & Company, heading the global automotive practice, and also being a non-executive chairman to ZeroLight. And yeah, then coming back to Bain and the research we did, because it's a very important topic around digital sales, is, let's say, keeping us awake, because it's one of the key strategic elements. And we saw that out of, let's say, surveys that are representative, roughly 40% by 2025 of the car purchasing, car selling processes will happen online, and will be supported by not just digital tools, but the entire process will be a digital one, with various steps in the purchasing experience, so that we see that this is quite significant, and it is in fact that is calling for preparation and is calling for solutions. And when we talk about omnichannel and digital sales processes, it is important to understand that not single elements are making the relevance. It's a complex process with more than 20 touch points, and what we need to create to provide an experience that is convincing enough and for the customers encouraging enough to as I stick to this process and finally end with selling a car and buying a car. This needs to be a seamless experience, and this is what we are talking today, showing you today how this can be organized. And it's not just, let's say, having this digital elements. We are still human beings and have our preferences to really have trustful conversations, not just machines behind us. 70% of the car buyers find a physical interaction, touch points with humans valuable and helpful, encouraging to move forward towards the buying of the car, so that it's getting clear. It's not just technology, it's also interaction that needs to be organized. And again, in our presentation later on, we will see how this can be done and how this can be managed in a proper and finally successful way. So this should be enough for introduction. I'm going to introduce the panelists of today. Thomas Orenz from Lucid Motors is Director of Digital and Interactive Marketing. He will explain us what Lucid has done to really provide this experience to its customers and to achieve this overall successful case, so that Lucid is, from our perspective, really front-running with its capabilities to have this seamless digital journey installed, and the technology behind and the knowledge is coming from ZeroLight. I proud to introduce Darren Jopling, the CEO of ZeroLight, and Jason Collins, the Chief Marketing Officer of ZeroLight. And the two will explain to us with which technological backbone this seamless customer journey can be achieved, can be introduced, what matters, and also describing the state of the art in terms of this digital enabled selling processes. So with having said this, I would like to hand over to Thomas. Thomas, welcome, and yeah, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Ralph. I'm Thomas, Director of Digital Interactive Marketing at Lucid. Lucid Motors is a luxury mobility company based in California, USA. Lucid was founded in 2007 under the name Ativa and originally focused on building electric vehicles, batteries, and powertrains for other vehicle manufacturers. Ativa was renamed into Lucid Motors in 2016, and we officially announced our intention to develop our luxury EV. Our first electric car, the Lucid Air, was presented in December 2016. Lucid has designed, developed, and manufactured and supplied battery packs for all racing teams in the 2018-2019 FIA Formula E Championship. On 13th of October 2021, so just 2 weeks back, we had the pleasure to hand over our first cars, the Lucid Air Dream Edition, to our very first customers. We are reimagining what a car can be by applying innovative engineering, design, and technology to build a new class of luxury EV. The Lucid Air you can see in this video is our first vehicle, and I'd like to share some of the key capabilities. An official EPA range of 520 miles or 836 kilometers for a Dream Edition range version. The Dream Edition performance version has a maximum output of 1,111 HP. 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, top speed 186 miles per hour, which is 270 kilometers per hour. And it charges to 300 miles in approximately 20 minutes. Next slide, please. As a director of digital interactive marketing at Lucid, it's my part and my role to define and deliver our direct-to-customer strategy. As we envisioned our direct-to-customer journey in the past, we had in mind how the customer should feel. And we developed these 3 pillars which guide our strategy. The customer should feel empowered so that they could research and evaluate their car on their terms with an absolute next level configurator experience. Whenever they touch our experiences, it must be outstanding, amazing, whatever you call it. So really best in class. The customer should feel that they are part of their own seamless and personal journey. And finally, that the customer should feel reassured and guided in their decisions. I would like to introduce Darren Jobing, the CEO of the company that we partnered with to achieve this ZeroLight. Darren.
Cheers, many thanks, Thomas, and good afternoon, everybody. As Thomas was saying, I'm Darren, I'm CEO of ZeroLight. And at ZeroLight, our mission is to help automotive brands like Lucid Motors to market and sell their cars. And let's face it, what Ralph was saying earlier, it's a rapidly changing digital customer journey. And our specific role at Lucid has been the creation of a visualization platform on which Lucid has built their direct-to-consumer experience. So the three customer expectations that you see here on the screen are really the pillars of the Lucid direct-to-consumer strategy, and they're also our agenda for today's session. We'll take each one of these and explore them in more detail. But first of all, we're going to have a little bit of audience participation. It's very good of you all to turn up today. But what I would like you to do, if you click on the bottom of your screen, there is a poll. And it would be great if you could click on that poll, there it is, and answer the question, have you configured a Lucid Air on lucidmotors.com? There they go. There's yeses and there's nos. Let's have a look where we're going to end up. Let's have a look. Nearly there. So it looks like about 20% of people approximately have actually configured a Lucid Air. That's great. We're going to take you through the whole process here today and share what's involved in that actual process. But then also, if you haven't tried it, I would definitely encourage you to go and give it a try. It's the best way of understanding what it's all about. So what we're going to do now is let's start with pillar one. You know, how does Lucid empower their customers? So pretty much when Thomas first came to us, you know, he put this first and foremost in his mind. You know, what does that mean to actually empower a customer to fully explore and evaluate the Lucid Air digitally on their own terms? And to do this effectively, a key starting point is a high quality 3D digital twin, which really needs to empower every single customer touch point. Really, this is what we do here. So this high quality digital twin we position right at the heart of the ZeroLight platform that powers Lucid Motors. It's a 3D digital version of the car with all of its configuration options built in 3D modeling software and uploaded to the platform. It functions as the single source of truth for the Lucid Air. And it's such, that's why it's in the center. Every single element from this point onwards uses that digital twin. Whether it's above the line for customer facing experiences, such as online at lucidmotors.com, in retail in the Lucid Studios, or immersive in the Lucid Studios, or even below the line for CGI content. You know, that single source of truth is used everywhere. And this creates an efficient, cost-effective, and consistent digital pipeline across the entire customer journey. And it's very important to realize that these aren't individual silos. All experiences in Lucid Motors customer journey are connected by data, but we'll examine that in a little bit more detail later on. In the meantime, let's take a look at the features of the Lucid Air digital twin. So basically, it's a 3D model. It starts with geometry, polygons that define the shape. When we add materials, we add more complex textures for realism. The car contains all configurations for all markets in one asset. But then what we actually do is place that in real world locations. So obviously the brand ethos of Lucid is California. So here you've got China Rock there away in the background. And it really helps the consumer to become immersed in what Lucid is all about. We then add animations, lights, so that it can move and function like a real car. And it really empowers the customer to understand the car that they're buying. So as a single source of truth, it does need to include all of the details, like the intricacies of the alloys, the stitching, and perforations that you can see on the leather there, you know, the texture and details of what the driver can see. And then also what's really important is totally accurate representations of the car's signature design elements. You know, they've got a brilliant designer at Lucid Motors in the shape of Derek Jenkins. And he was very, very keen that these key elements of what Lucid is all about are actually represented to all the consumers globally. So you've got a great digital twin. How are you actually going to deliver that to customers anywhere in the world? And we do this via an advanced 3D configurator. So the advanced 3D online configurator, lucidmotors.com, puts the tools and freedoms to explore the digital twin right into the hands of the consumer. It's streamed in 3D from the cloud, so it works seamlessly across any device, be it tablet, be it desktop, be it mobile phones. But it also contains a range of advanced features, some of which we can take a look at now. So here we have it. It's the advanced 3D configurator, and it offers really an unrivaled level of freedom and exploration capability of the vehicle. And this is really at the leading edge of the industry, where obviously a lot of configurators, in 95% of them, are all based around static images. So with Lucid Motors on the Design Yours, you have complete freedom of view. You can explore your car in your own way from any angle, zoom in, zoom out in incredible detail. But you're also free to configure all trims, options, accessories, and also freedom to interact. There's all these hotspots here that you can see in the video where people can really help both inside and outside of the vehicle to understand what the Lucid Air is all about. However, the system's also unique in that it can switch in real time between interactive 3D that you're seeing now and static images. So that obviously there's times when maybe people are in a low bandwidth area if they're using a phone. And what really happens on this system is in real time, instantly, we can swap from interactive 3D into turntables of 2D images. And literally, we produce millions of these images for Lucid on demand in the cloud. This allows the customer to explore the car, even in low bandwidth, through image turntables. And then, or even, you know, features that you would not normally get in a static image configuration there. You could open the boot, for example. It contains all configurations, all animations, cinematic angles, interior views. However, and this is the very, very important part, when you go to lucidmotors.com and hit on Design Yours, you'll notice that nearly everybody gets interactive 3D by default. And the reason for that is because when you empower your customers with 3D interactive, they reward you with amazing KPI results. So these are some of the results that Lucid has published, showing what happens when you reward a customer with this interactive car versus a static image. So these powerful results come from the first 10 weeks of the Lucid Air's debut, demonstrating how Lucid empowers its customers in their use of the configurator. So the first of all is engagement, which is really how long does somebody spend understanding the car? And really 47% of people want to explore and understand the car they are about to reserve. So it's actually nearly 50% higher than a static image. Secondly, a customer experience in a 3D active car is significantly more likely to reserve a vehicle. And finally, an interactive 3D Lucid Air increases the revenue generated per session by over 50%. So they're really quite staggering results. So Lucid are able to understand this level of information as they are collecting anonymized behavioral data 10 times every second from the use of the configurator. And this functionality plays a key role in enabling the customer journey to be personalized, which is really the next pillar that we're coming onto in our agenda. So as this is a particular area of expertise of Jason Collins, ZeroLight CMO, I'm going to ask him to walk through this part of the agenda right now.
Thank you, Darren. Welcome everyone again. Thank you for coming along. Okay, so yes, as Darren was saying, he's dead right. early on, we identified the one of the priorities of the Lucid team, and Thomas in particular, was the capability to make the customer feel like like they're at the center of their own personal buying journey. And for us, what that means is changing their buying journey into their buying journey. And we're going to take a look in the following slides about how we managed to achieve that. Now, we think that the expectation for this customer centricity and this personalized approach comes from how these very same customers are interacting with other brands, especially other brands online. And so this is where we took our inspiration from for the strategy that we deployed. Just like the rest of us, Lucid customers are regularly using and receiving personalized music experiences, movie experiences from the likes of Spotify and Netflix. And they're receiving personalized e-commerce online shopping experiences from brands like Amazon. So it's not surprising then to expect them to want that in their vehicle shopping journey. So the challenge and actually really the opportunity for us was to be able to recreate that sentiment, recreate that sense for a customer going through their Lucid buying journey. And we built a two-part strategy to tackle this. So firstly, we had to provide the functionality and the tools on our platform to allow the Lucid Motors to really understand their customer much more deeply than is possible with, shall we say, typical industry approaches or typical web analytics data. The purpose of that is to provide or to enable the provision of personalized guidance once the customer comes into contact with a person from that brand. And secondly, we knew that we would need a system that could create customer-specific CGI on demand so that we can immerse the customer in relevant personalized content that's built, purpose-built for them. Now, understanding the customer starts with the quality of the data, the quality and the quantity of data that can be collected from the online configurator. And I think the best introduction to this topic is probably to look at what's typical in the industry today. And what we observed was that a typical industry solution really only reveals the last thing that a customer did in their use of the configurator. And typically, this comes in the form of allowing the customer to save their configuration as a shortcode, which normally looks like a short alphanumeric string. And then this can be handed over to a salesperson as a way to share their configuration choices to continue on their buying journey. Now, that's okay, but from our point of view, and from Lucid Motors' point of view, this really is not truly understanding the customer, because it leaves the vast majority of the configuration and the evaluation journey that they've been through a complete mystery to the salesperson. And arguably more importantly, it leaves the customer feeling that when they do engage for that first time with the customer, that they actually feel like a stranger to the brand, despite having spent sometimes 2 or 3 months in market with that brand. But this is not a limitation that Lucid faces today with their current system. So for Lucid, what we were able to do was provide an opt-in solution for customers that actually reveals much more detail about their entire customer journey. And this includes not just the final configuration data, but actually also their options and selections and behavior from all of the previous sessions as well. The data includes not just how they have configured the vehicle, but how they've interacted with it. So as we saw in the video with Darren previously, how they've used the animations, how they've used cameras, their environment selections. And this all helps to build up a picture of the customer's preferences and how to best help them reach their ultimate destination of reservation or purchase. Now, rather than just click data, what we're actually able to do here, because this is a real-time and a cloud-based system, is track time spent with each option and with each interaction, which provides a much more valuable and richer insight into the customer's preferences. And all of this data can be combined into a single holistic view of the customer's interactions with that brand. Now, it still looks the same to a customer. It's still a short alphanumeric string. It's no more complicated to use. And all of this data is anonymous unless the customer chooses to opt into sharing it with Lucid. And if they do, then we can sync that collection of data with the customer's Salesforce record to enable the sales team to understand that and then to offer them personalized guidance. Now, I can't share the actual Lucid Salesforce for obvious reasons, but we've created this mock-up to show a representation of what it looks like. And there's a few key things to notice. So there's the short code, and we're capturing some user information, of course. And now we're showing here that the data being represented is the range of configuration options selected, not just the final configuration. And with that, when we do show the final configuration, we're able to on demand render a visual representation of that vehicle. To assist the salesperson's understanding. And finally, as you'll see towards the end of the loop, we're able to provide the salesperson with some very simple to use direct actions to allow them to send the customer personalized content in the form of personalized emails or personalized brochures. And that takes us up to that second part of immersing the customer in a personalized journey, which is that expectation to be immersed in only relevant content. So everything we've seen in this portion of the presentation so far has really been invisible to the user. It's behind the scenes data. It's not really visible to them. But what we're going to show in this video is how that manifests for the customer. So it includes providing the functionality to save and load not just the last configuration, but a range of configurations at any touch point with which they engage with the brand, be that at retail, be that online. It means they can save and view personalized imagery and configurations in their My Account area. And then for each of those vehicles or each of those configurations, they're able to select a personalized brochure to receive, which is delivered via personalized email and contains a range of media and interactives to further explore the exact configuration options that they selected as part of that journey. That includes images and galleries, interactive panoramas of the vehicle, and also some comparisons and day to night views of the vehicle. And what this combination of opt-in data collection to understand the customer's behavior with this immersive surrounding and relevant media, it really puts the customer at the center of their own personalized journey. And we believe really cements the fact that they are having a premium buying experience. We believe that personalization is a hallmark of that premium experience, and we're able to deliver that at scale for the Lucid Motors journey. So we've seen the importance of digital experiences in the Lucid Motors direct consumer strategy. I think, as Ralph put really well at the beginning of the session, it's not all about interactions with computers and digital experiences. Actually, what we believe is that customers expect access to real product experts as part of that direct consumer journey, to offer guidance, to offer reassurance before they transact either through to purchase or transact through to a paid reservation. And this is one half of what we call at ZeroLight the online car sales paradox, which is the coming together of two trends currently going on in the industry. And the first one comes from McKinsey, and it's really no surprise, I don't think, to anyone in this session, that tells us that prospective buyers of new vehicles are less willing to visit and interact with sellers at dealerships. This isn't a new insight by any means, but when you compare it with the desire of customers to still be able to close a deal with the real person, we're faced with this paradox where customers aren't willing to go to the locations where they can receive that interaction with the real person. And this is exactly the scenario that Lucid Motors, along with other brands, of course, in the sector, faces, and the challenge that was put to us to solve. And again, we put together a two-part strategy for this, and we knew that a big part of this was going to be to play our role in booking the trend and attracting customers back into those physical spaces, into the Lucid studios to receive that personalized guidance. That's a role, of course, that we did alongside retail teams and strategy teams alongside Lucid. And we're going to have a look at what that meant, what our role in that challenge was. But secondly, we knew that when that just wasn't possible, we had to provide Lucid Motors with the functionality to take that guidance out to the customer, to provide to them on their own terms. So when we look at the physical spaces, the Lucid Studios, our role in that was to build unique, high quality digital experiences that not only customers could not have in their own homes, but they couldn't have anywhere else in the world. And it came in three key elements deployed into those studios. Firstly, the implementation of ultra high resolution configuration system and screens. the provision of portable tablet-based solution for sales teams to use with customers, also cloud-based, but also the provision of a world-leading virtual reality experience. And we're going to take a minute just to look at that in a bit more detail. So there are three elements to the Lucid virtual reality experience, which makes it a world leader. The first is, as we've just seen in the clip there, the integration of a physical book into the studio, which adds that physical feedback and that physical sense to the immersive visual and audio experience of the headset. Secondly, you'll see we're actually providing these as a multi-person experience, which allows two people to share the same VR experience in a totally synchronized and shared session, which is key because car buying decisions are very rarely made by a single person. And you'll see that the other person is represented by that avatar there in the scene. And thirdly, as the camera moves back round again, we'll see that actually we are providing the functionality to have a multi-car vehicle comparison and evaluation experience for the customer. Now, individually, these are all world-class features, but taken in combination, it creates something really spectacular. Now, the Lucid physical studios, the spaces are a highly successful and important part of the direct consumer strategy, but bringing people to those spaces, especially recently, has not been easy. There's a number of challenges. So first of all, there are relatively few retail locations, and it's growing all the time. There have until very recently been quite limited physical stock with which to engage customers in any location, be that a studio or an event or in pop-up campaigns. And we've seen earlier through the session that there is a consumer trend away from visiting dealerships, which we believe is normally rooted in poor experiences that the customers have had with other brands in those kinds of spaces. And finally, of course, all this is happening in the context of a global pandemic, which really just amplifies the size and scale of those issues. So for Lucid, we co-developed, co-envisioned a solution to address all of these issues, which is called Lucid Studio Live, which takes the studio experience to the customer on their own terms, digitally and online. So Lucid Studio Live offers customers guided online configuration sessions, which are shared online virtually and synchronized with trained product experts. And we'll take a few slides just to understand how that works. So it's a two-part experience. You have the trained sales staff on one part, and you have the customer also connected to the exact same session. Now, the product expert is empowered with a range of tools to showcase features and talk customers through key design aspects of the vehicle, and also to help the customer to select their final configuration choices for that critical reservation. The customer, on the other hand, experiences this premium and personal shopping experience during which they're receiving that critical reassurance and product guidance, brand guidance, sales process guidance that's key. And we're allowing them to do that and to receive those things at a time and a place which is convenient for them. Now, the result is the customer receives this premium experience, which is driving some key results, which we're going to look at straight after this video with some more information in. Excellent. So Lucid Studio Live as a concept and as a practical implementation is generating some really exciting results, both for Lucid, but also for the industry. We know that the average session length of a user participating in a Lucid Studio Live session is 46 minutes. And we know that if at any point in your journey through to purchase with Lucid Motors, that you take one of these Lucid Studio Live sessions, that you are twice as likely to convert to a paid reservation. And I think what's key about these results is that they demonstrate the solution's viability and future utility in the industry at large to provide that reassurance to customers in lieu of those visits to physical spaces. Now, that's the end of our slides. What I'd like to do is wrap up the session with a summary of what we've covered over the previous sections. So we have looked at the fact that the Lucid Motors direct consumer strategy is built on top of 3 pillars, and those pillars are how we should be making those customers feel as they go through their buying journey. We've seen that the first one and critical one is the capability to empower a customer and to evaluate, to build and consider their own Lucid Air on their own terms. And we've seen with the videos with Darren earlier in the session, how the planning and the execution of that digital twin is key in enabling that. And then to expose and to put the freedom to explore that digital twin in the hands of the customer through an advanced 3D configurator allows you to take that to market and really benefit from that digital twin. We've seen that customers expect to be put at the center of their own buying journey, and that's a 2-part challenge. First, we have to understand the customer, and we do that with Lucid Motors through an advanced shortcode system, which allows them to opt into sharing extra data with the brand to provide personalized guidance. And we've seen that the ability to respond to that data with relevant and personalized visual content reinforces that feeling of being immersed in a personalized buying journey. And finally, we've seen that even in a digitally led buying journey, customers still expect to have physical access to product experts, and that is continues to be a 2-part challenge, which requires the implementation of a strategy to bring customers into those brand locations, but also where that's not possible, to actually take the product experts to the customer digitally and online. And with that summary of the session, I'd like to hand back to Ralph, who's going to host us for a Q&A, where we'll be able to dig into any of the details you've seen today in a bit more information, or address any topics that have come to mind. So over to you, Ralph. Thank you.
Jason, thank you very much for a great presentation. Also Darren and Thomas earlier. I think it was more than impressive, and I saw that there was, let's say, a frequent raise of questions, and some of those have been answered already. So I think there is plenty of room as we have, let's say, provided the presentation in time and have been disciplined with the story, and therefore I would take the questions as they are coming in. And the first one, why use virtual reality in store rather than allowing customer to sit in or experience an actual vehicle? And this is, let's say, a first question towards Thomas. And I also may ask Darren to comment on his experience across multiple projects ZeroLight has carried out, but Thomas first. What has driven, to frame it differently, what has driven Lucid to consequently stick to this type of customer journey?
Because it really engages a lot. So if people have the willingness to dive into VR, it's a very engaging tool, really, to put people into a different place and give them a different perception. And second, which is also quite obvious, you can never ever have all the cars sitting around in all this configuration. So you need to have some kind of support in those studios, which you can make use of to show all the variation and also potentially all its surroundings. So it's some kind of simulation integration tool where you can play around, integrate more and more over time, and enrich the tool less than you could do potentially by only one car or one variant you might have on site.
Yeah, and all I can do is agree with Thomas on that. I think when Thomas came to us, he wanted state-of-the-art virtual reality. And there's a lot of talk currently about the metaverse and this other thing, but certainly with the virtual reality, that's in Lucid, it's like stepping into the metaverse because you're there, but you also have the option of having two people in there with you. So there's another person there, and you can explore the vehicle together in the metaverse, if you like. But then also, you can also compare cars back to back in VR. So you could have two cars that are the same configurations, but they have different alloy rims. So you can stand as a customer in virtual reality and compare the two vehicles back to back. So again, it's putting the customer in the center. It's very customer centric, but it's also representative of the technological advances of Lucid. And I think that's a really key point, that more and more people are associating the technology in the customer journey is being representative of the technology in the vehicle. And if you think, hey, an OEM can't even do a good website or can't even do a good digital experience in a retail outlet, people are generally going to think, well, the technology in the car isn't going to be good. So I think with Lucid, they wanted the whole thing to be state of the art because their product is state of the art.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Darren, and also Thomas. If I can continue with the next question, playing again in your court, Darren. The question was about, is there an opportunity to get this 3D data from the OEM, or is there a need to create data models aside?
Yeah, so it's an entirely digital process. So what normally happens is ZeroLight will take whatever the car manufacturer has, be it CAD, be it formats like DeltaGen, Maya, 3D Studio, Unreal Engine, Unity, whatever the car manufacturer has is what you take, and then you automate the process to create a digital twin. You then put the digital twin in the center and then use that for every single digital touch point. And that's exactly what we did with Lucid. We'd worked with Thomas over a number of years previously at Audi when we worked together. And it was exactly that process that we followed, to have the digital twin front and center, have it the highest possible quality, but then use it everywhere. And if you use it everywhere, you stop this repetition and it costing additional cost. You have the one single source of truth, use it everywhere.
Great, thank you. We have seen a couple of questions around leasing, financing, and also insurance. Thomas, going in your direction, this is our experience, one of the critical elements normally not really fit in digital processes, or being the final hurdle for seamless processes. How is this handled in Lucid?
Actually, we are still a small company, so that kind of topics are addressed directly via inside sales representative, which are on the phone, maybe doing this to a live session and give you some kind of insights about that, or it's in those studios itself. So this is currently not really a full integrated part. Okay, perfect. So that means some challenges are still remaining. And then let's go next. It's the question around that there is maybe no chat function in this configuration, or how is, let's say, this topic around comments, questions remaining, unsolved issues, etc., handled in the ZeroLight or in the Lucid customer journey. Maybe Jason, this can be one for you.
Good. I was actually just about to put my hand up. Thank you, Ralph. I think the key here is to remain frictionless for the customer, and for what that means for us is using the kinds of chat and speaking channels that they are already using. So for us, this is an integration piece, not a build piece. So it means integrating into telephone systems, into Skype, into Zoom, into WhatsApp, whatever system that the customer is used to talking in, and not asking them to download or use new apps or new systems. So it's about removing those pieces of friction and integrating with what they're used to.
Okay, Thank you. And there's one question for me highly relevant, because when we see changes and transformation in traditional sales systems, we are talking on years and highly complex processes. Darren, what was the time frame needed to implement such a solution?
Very good question. So what happened was a little bit of history. We were exhibiting with Amazon CES in 2020, prior to COVID, and we came across obviously the guys and the girls from Lucid Motors, and they obviously the key strategic advantage of the EV players is they are what we call a greenfield site. So they can immediately put in a totally connected next generation customer journey. So I don't think we're giving away any trade secrets that CES was in January and the Lucid Air launched in September, I believe, Thomas. And so fundamentally, it was a relatively quick process considering the amount of elements that were created. I don't know if you had anything else to add on that, Thomas.
No, it's totally right. So at least the core advantage is there was nothing, and if you have nothing, you could pick the best, and you can make the best. So it's easy as that. Yes.
And how long was it taking overall from, let's say, the decision to go this way until final implementation? Or as we can talk about final.
Really effectively, it was in 2 chapters just because of COVID. So to be quite honest, I was starting late summer 2019. And the first approach to get it live in front of customers pre-COVID was April next year. And you could say everything was done and integrated so far. So I could say my digital factory was up and running those days. And then we got a little pushback due to COVID, and then it was just pushed into September. And I could say we refined the stuff around PDF, personal brochure, integration, reserve, anything around you see for 4K VR, mobile, responsiveness, render quality. It was some kind of refinement. So it was a very short time frame from, okay, Thomas, you're on it, until you need to deliver. And it worked.
Okay, great. Thomas, sorry for bothering you again. There's one question about, let's say, future development, scaling up Lucid. You mentioned still a small company. There's a lot of room for growth. How do you intend to handle the number of studios after sales or after market services, etc.? Is there also an, let's say, digital touch intended?
Digital touch, so all the studios have at least digital touch. If someone of you guys which are attending might have seen Lucid Studio, go online, you see there's a lot of tech and digital touch in that. And in terms of numbers, let's put it that way. We might have not all studios around the globe like a Volkswagen or any kind of other global manufacturers might have. I think we might do like Bentley or Lamborghini. We might be there where those customers are which can afford those cars.
Okay, great. Darren, one for you. And if you put this all together, how does this all fit into the metaverse? How do you think this?
So the metaverse is a very interesting question. So fundamentally, currently there's a feeling that the metaverse is a new thing. Whereas in actual fact, if you come from the games industry, so my personal background is the games industry, the metaverse has been around for over a decade with games like Second Life, for instance. So fundamentally, we would say that say the Lucid configurator is taking into a sort of metaverse, because you're there with a totally interactive car. You're in California. If you go to a Lucid studio, you can step inside the virtual reality into the metaverse. So I think the metaverse is here. You're beginning to see it now. I think the big challenge going forward is not necessarily is the metaverse going to exist. It already exists. What the big challenge is how are you going to produce the content necessary to fill the metaverse? And we've got some ideas on that with Lucid Motors, and we're exhibiting it CES in 2022. So we should maybe save that for then.
Thank you for answering this. Thomas, how is Lucid dealing with test drives? What is your strategy around delivering cars, and how you handle, let's say, technical problems in after sales, and on the other hand, how you can, let's say, ensure that this digital ownership experience is seamless also after you have, let's say, configured and bought your car?
We're currently working on that. So everything we did right now was getting the customer on board, engage with the customer, and help him to find his dream Air, Lucid Air, and maybe also towards other variants we have in the future. And everything which comes until after sales, that is currently also in preparation to help and guide the customers for service implementation. Let's call it. We might have an AR app, so to say, in the future, which also helps us or helps the customer post sales for accessories and so on. Test drive, well, very often asked question. Honestly, I haven't driven the car. Why is that so? Because it's mainly for customers itself right now. We handed over the first cars 2 weeks back. There's another big bunch of cars delivered this weekend, and you will be able to test those cars in studios, and there are even more cars available. Or you have the right connection into the company. Potentially, you might also be able. But even I haven't driven the car, so the more cars we might have right now in the future, the more test drive we can, of course, offer.
Perfect. Thank you, Thomas. I think we have answered more or less the questions that have been raised. Maybe there are some coming later on, and I do believe we can wrap up at this moment. And I would like to hand over to Paul.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ralph. I just want to take this opportunity to firstly thank our amazing panelists and moderators from ZeroLight and Lucid Motors. Judging by the looks of the Q&A session, it's been a fantastic session. I think everyone's taken a lot from it. The session has been recorded, and we will be sending out to everyone who has registered, whether they've tuned in or not today. So reassure any teammates who are asking after the session. I've also included Jason's email in the chat box. So if you have any questions, or want to kind of follow up with the team, feel free to drop him a message. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to kind of help with anything he can. But yeah, and I'll finish on that note. So thank you everyone. So thank you so much everyone for joining today, and hopefully see you on the next session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye bye.
Thanks.